Let's Talk here on your darling TV station with me, your humble servant, Prince K. You know, we always gather issues from the society, come here, put it on the table, so that together we see how we make the society to be a better place. Catch us every Tuesday as from 5 right up to 6 p.m. here on Divine Mercy Television for us to try to put our own quota on the table to make not just our country but the world a better place. I am your host, Prince Likia, and of course I have persons who, despite their busy schedule, will come here to discuss with us, to give their own little quota to the community in order for us to make it better. I would like to introduce those who have sacrificed to be with us here today, and of course after which we will deliver the topic that you have for us this today, so that together we can communicate. Now I would like to begin with you, Mr. Fidel. You came first, so you have the honor. How have you been? You don't need introduction again. That's Mr. Ebong Fidel. He is a humanitarian and, of course, also a business person here in Boya. He's top when it comes to communication. And, of course, he's a member of Let's Talk. How have you been? How was the weekend?
Thank you very much. Of course, let me say a series of weekends because due to a few technical issues, we weren't able to do some time. Of course, I really did well, and thanks to Almighty, I always reflect back to what God has done for us in our lives. So I always go back and say thank you, Father. And we're here. I should still say thank you, Father, that we are here, that we are back to meet our televiewers out there.
Thank you so very much, and I want to really apologize for those who missed the last two programs due to some technical issues that we experienced. But thank God we are back 5 on 5, and we'll give you all what you know best to give. I'll come to you, Dr. Chuchu Stephen. You have been missing. You have clinical issues. How have you been?
Well, Prince, permit me to first of all apologize to my viewers. As a conflict expert, it's of utmost importance to acknowledge where you're wrong, because when you acknowledge where you're wrong, then you already settle in dispute. Yes, so I want to first of all apologize to my viewers for not being there. A lot of responsibilities, and you can best attest to that because you came to the office today and then you saw how busy I was. But due to the love of the community and the willingness to impart and to contribute, my little quota as far as building the community is concerned, we always see how we can squeeze out time of our busy, very busy schedule to see that we share our knowledge and our experience as far as nation building is concerned.
When it comes to nation building,
yes, no, when it comes to nation building, I'm always there. I'll sacrifice my all for it.
Thank you so very much. These are the youths of today that will become the leaders of tomorrow. And if we don't mold ourselves today, I wonder the kind of leaders or the kind of elders we will be tomorrow. There's a new face on the program that you get to discover. Miss Christelle Ndeche. I hope I have the name right. Of course, she is Ndeche. Christelle Ndeche. She's a new face here. Miss Christelle Ndeche is an accountant and, of course, a public speaker. She's so very much particular when it comes to, moral issues, especially amongst young persons. So she's very particular with our topic for today. How do you feel being with us here today?
Thank you very much, Prince, for giving me such an opportunity to educate ourselves, because we are all learning, though we're giving particular time to speak. I feel this is a need at this point in time, because with everything that's happening, we can say the society is almost decayed. So talking about this, I think we're going to help our young ones, maybe our future, the future generation will be better than what we're seeing today. So great to know.
Thank you so very much for accepting our invitation, and she is involved in bringing up young children. In the course of the program, you get to discover that. Epole Anisel, how have you been?
I've been holding up.
You've been holding up. You're always holding up. Just let loose. How was the weekend?
It's very stressful.
Stressful, Asha. There's no gas, there's no money, there's no everything. But we'll hold up, right?
Yeah, definitely will hold up.
But you look good, though.
Thank you. I try my best.
All right. Thank you. So that's the set we have for you this evening. And of course, Madam Kindness will throw our topic and the number through which you can reach us to participate on the topic via SMS or through WhatsApp. Today, I want to talk about youth and a little bit. I just want to say most youth, because if I say every youth, it will be as if you are abusing them. Who is to be blamed for the wayward attitudes of most youths today? Where can we lay that blame? There's a problem when you you are going through something and you don't even know that you are going through that issue. Maybe you have a problem and you don't even know, because majority of the youths that I've talked with, they don't even know that they have a problem. To them, they're living their life. They call it cashing cruise. Yes, it's normal. What they're doing is okay. So we need to hammer on this over and over to make them first and foremost understand that what you think is cashing cruise, that might just be for today. But there is much after this life of today, because some of them, they'll just say, let me live my life, tomorrow will tell. But that's not the issue, because we need to hammer on them. So we want to talk about this wayward attitude of youth today in our society. Who can we blame, or what can we blame, or where can we really put this blame for today? Now, you are out there, you join your voices to those of us who are here. Mr. Ebon Fidel, please let me begin with you. You were born a little bit in the 80s. I'm very correct, right?
Yes.
Now, I just want you to do a little bit of comparison, first and foremost. What's the difference between children? We know before the 80s, there was a lot of morality in the society. But 80s and early 90s, that's where it ended. Now, children of late 90s and the 2000s, what's the difference between a child born in your era and those born in these 20s?
That means
When it comes to morality, respect, and everything.
Obviously, now we're talking about the 20th century and the 21st century.
Android generation.
Android generation, obviously. Yeah, it's really something that we really need to hammer about, because what we are experiencing now with the youth of nowadays is not really what was obtained before. Somebody was born in 1980, today is 42 years, and somebody in 1990 is 32 years today, and those that are born in the early 2000s obviously should be 22 years or maybe less. Now, some of us who were born in the 80s, the level at which we were brought up isn't really what is obtained now. Some of these things I begin to point fingers at the way they say the world is evolving.
Yeah.
And when they say the world is evolving, now people are into what we call Android generation. I can remember the very first phone I ever had was in the year 2007. You can imagine from 2007 till now how long I have been living with a phone.
Yeah.
But whereas nowadays children, class 7, we don't even have class 7 again. From 1, they already have a phone. They know how to manipulate. Primary school, they already know how to manipulate phones, go on social media, and do a whole lot of things. And some of the wayward attitudes of these are coming, obviously, from the social media landscape. That is the primary stuff. And with the involvement in the development that we were talking about, at first we were flogged in school. For coming late, they flog you very well. For failing a sum, they flog you very well. Mental drill, very early in the morning, 7 o'clock, you meet 30 sums on the board. You fail one, you have a stroke. But now,
They call it progressive discipline.
it's a progressive discipline or something else or whatever. Teachers no longer are allowed to administer
Discipline, if I put it that way.
corporal punishment, or let's say discipline, discipline kids. And that's why you see the wayward attitude of the youth now. It's really climbing, and the rate at which it is going now, even in some of our francophone schools or in other parts of Cameroon, like we have what
Across
has
the
been
board.
happening, you see the aspect of students going to schools with knives in their pockets, and until the extent that they use those knives and kill even their own teachers. But people were born, or let me say children were born in those early days. Let's
see a
put it
teacher
in the
in tremble.
80s. I mean, you see a teacher, only the way that you even respect your senior ones, if you even keeping aside your teacher, because it wasn't something like you can only respect just your direct family members or whatsoever, because the respect had to cut across whosoever had to discipline you when you did something or when you do something wrong. And that's how some of us were brought up. Today, I cannot even afford to hit my own, even if it's a child, that I hit a child, later on I regret. Because I always work on the principle that do unto others what you want them to do to you. That's the way I operate.
But do you believe that there's this saying that the African child toes the line only with the kid?
To an extent, yes, but not fully true. not fully true with the fact that it depends on the upbringing of the child. If you decide to leave your child to be loose, it means
want to
that
correct with a cane later on,
you
no?
are, and you want to bring a cane in later on. That's where you are getting it all wrong. And I'm saying so because people think that it's only a cane that has a value in bringing up a child morally, but whereas it is not as that. People have still forgotten to know that if you are too prone to discipline, you instead scare away children, or instead scare away people from coming closer to you. Because if you are not friendly, it is practically impossible for people, or for somebody, for a child to even
open up.
confide in you. So you see that maybe a problem that a child has, that he or she would have come to the father or to the aunt or whoever and
Yeah,
then
afraid
explain,
because you always
and then,
beat them.
but because you think that she thinks that, or he thinks that already he is wrong or something, and once he comes, then he will be battered or something. It causes the child or whosoever to maybe stay back and go and join bad crews. And that's why, because of this aspect of social media, you see today crime wave is really on the rise. And when we talk about scamming,
Yes.
when we talk about this guesswork,
Yes, yes.
when you look at it very well, the people that do this real guesswork, if take them from 30, you come down.
Below, yeah.
30, you come down. And once they have money, it's like money has got to, money
The
does
truth is,
everything.
money comes with
That's it.
maturity. So if you give a child money, you expect the way they are behaving.
Obviously, and that's what is happening presently.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Fidel. And of course, you've touched one aspect that I want to come to Madam Christe before I come to Dr. Chuchu. I know when Dr. Chuchu and you start clashing here. All right. Now, Madam Christe, Mr. Fidel touched his school, and you are part of a school where, of course, you mold young minds. You are part of the Hope Academy Lingua High School, and of course, you have both primary and secondary school students and pupils. Now, what are some of the, should I say, wayward or immoral aspects you've noticed in some of these young minds that you mold, and how do you think that teachers and those who mold these people can better them or help their parents to make them sway away from these bad behaviors?
Okay, brains through this first is with their language. Some of them really speak dirty. They speak, and you wonder where these kids actually learn these things from. They speak dirty. When I say dirty, it means look at what comes out of them. You wonder what they are being taught. So at a particular point, I want to blame the parents for the attitude of our youth today, because the Bible makes us to understand in Proverbs 22 verse 6 that train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. At the very tender age, if we start training these kids in a good, I'm not saying morality is not Christianity, but we need to blend this two together, making them know who Jesus is and bringing them up in a way they should go. It will help adjust their minds. But with the aspect of do not beat my child, you start hearing series of complaints from parents, and you wonder like what do they expect from these children. So aside from their dirty languages that they use in school, their dressing, their attitude is like they've already been boxed, they've been fine-tuned in a way that they don't want anybody to get into it, and parents support them. You see kids of ages like 3, 4 who can barely speak, they're already talking some things and they're acting the funny way, and you just cry, say, Lord, we need you to come again to this generation, else maybe what happened in the days of old will happen again. So the parents have a lot to do. Now the teachers they're limited in what they should do, just like what Mr. Fidel said. They are limited because the government says no corporal punishment, no this. Before, if my father tells me I'll report you to your teacher, I do everything in the house because I'm scared of my teacher. Now you see your teacher, you don't even greet the teacher. You see the kids going and wanting the teacher to even approach them, and you wonder like what's happening in our society today. So it's really a cause for concern. I don't know if the government can do something, but let them give the teachers back their responsibility.
Yeah, that's
Let
true.
them give them the authority they had before. The difference between the 80s, I wasn't there, yeah, but the difference between the late 90s and the 2000s is clear. The teachers had authority over the children, but now the children have authority over the
Exactly.
teachers.
That's true.
That's why you see them fighting their teachers, you see them bringing them harmful stuff to school because they know very well that the teacher has nothing to do when it concerns them. So at this point, I think we should start by blaming the parents first, then we go to the
Thank you so very much, Madam Christelle. I see Dr. Chichu nodding the head there. Are you for or against? Because I know if it's Mr. Edmond, you always be against.
Can I come in?
You can, yeah.
Okay. I want to first of all applaud Madam Christelle. She's spoken well like a pedagogue that she is. But let me come now to my own self. I want to separate these responsibilities to the various stakeholders. We are talking the parents, the government, and the individuals, the youth themselves. These three stakeholders, they have a serious responsibility, a pivotal responsibility to play as the moral decadence of the communities increases on daily basis. Let me first of all buttress the point that Madam Christelle did made. She paramountly laid the blame on the parents. Prince, you know, some of us who do not study biology, they'll tell you that the parents are the first teachers of the children, of a child. When a child is born, charity begins at home, in as much as it doesn't end there. It begins there, and you take it from there outward. Exactly. Prince, poor parenting is one of the main cause of this delinquency, this moral decadence that we see in the community. Because when parents are actively involved, I'm saying that actively involved in the upbringing of their child, I bet you, in as much as this child wants to go wayward, the limit will be somehow minimal. But when this child is totally loose, left for the community and his or herself, Prince, I bet you whatsoever the child comes around, the child takes. The child cannot segregate between wrongs and right because there's nobody to mother hen the child. You get it? Now, so I'm first of all blaming the parent. Poor parenting, poor parental upbringing is the main cause of this high degree of moral decadence that we see in our community.
Now, let me not cut you short. What happened that the parents have lost control over their own children? Because in the 80s and the early 90s, the parents had total control, were actively involved. But now they are not there. Or is it that the children are more than them?
You are very correct, Prince. You talk about what happened. Prince, if you look at the degree of divorce now as compared to the degree of divorce then, it's alarming. Prince, separate homes. A child that is brought up by separate parents. Prince, that child, you cannot compare. By a single parent, you cannot compare such a child as to a child that is being brought up in a home where everybody, a home is made up of the mother, the father, and the children. So,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that the issue of alarming rate of divorce within our community and single parenthood is the cause of what is happening within our community. As compared to back then, within the 80s, by the 80s I was already old.
Yes, go ahead.
Within the 80s, it was difficult to hear of divorce. Yeah. It was difficult to hear that this auntie was staying with this uncle and then they are not staying again. This auntie is staying that way and then this uncle. It was difficult. We did not hear of things like that. So you see that morality was intact. The level of moral decadence within the community was at a minimal proportion. But please, a lot of things has changed. Mr. Fidel talks about the 20th century and the 21st century. A lot of shit has happened within the 21st century. A lot of divorce. This single parenthood is everywhere. This one will just go and impregnate this one, and then you don't even know where the parent is coming, the father is coming from. This girl just go and get pregnant, and then this boy just go and impregnate this one and just go. Twins, a lot of things are happening. So you cannot really compare the parental upbringing within the 80s and that of the 21st century. That is one. Prince. Two. Let me hammer on the youth. Prince, peers influence.
The pressure.
Yeah, it depends on the terminology you want to use. Yes, peer pressure. Prince, you talk about youth that have money. youth that wants to survive by all means. Materialistic nature of youth. Prince, youth nowadays want to survive by all means. Prince, I'm saying that by all means. You know about a story that Armstrong shared to us one time like that, about what happened in Monaco. Prince, youth are desperately in need to survive. They want to survive. But then, within those days, we think that progressive process where you move from one stage to another. Like, for example, if I want to talk as a pedagogue, you say you live from class 1 to class 2 to class 3.
They just want to skip from
They
class
want to live from class 1 to the university. Please, they want to live from class 1 to the university, and with all this unrealistic ambition, they become very vulnerable to ills within the society. People have to influence them. A broker will go, so there's somebody here, if you do this thing, you have money. They will go and do it. And bet you, a rich illiterate is very dangerous in the society. Yes. A lot of these guys engage themselves into unscrupulous activities. Like you talk about, like what you mentioned something here, like Nges. Yes, Nges. Okay, please let me hammer more on this Nges. This Nges issue, right? See, it has caused a lot of youth who are not schooled, who are not educated. That means they are empty upstairs to have money, and because they have this money, they become nuisance into the society.
And it has also caused a lot of youths to get into other fetish means to compare
themselves. Please, when you're talking about Monaco is a hub of the good, the bad, the ugly play. The ugly things. It's a Sodom and Gomorrah of our time. When you get to Monaco, you will see all those things. A young guy who is 25 years old, he's riding a Porsche car of 35 million. You look at yourself as, are you a failure? What is happening? Yeah, and if you don't have a very strong self-esteem, if you don't have if you are not that disciplined, good upbringing, you will be influenced, you will be derailed to get yourself engaged into all those kind of unscrupulous things. You want to succeed because you are comparing yourself with that other person, thinking that you are a failure. No, you are not. Friends, some life is relative. It's not what the society declares that you are successful. There is a person who thinks that him being successful is the number of person he has touched, the number of person he has sponsored to school. That what makes him happy. That's what makes him successful. Another person that being successful is to acquire a certain degree of education.
And to girls to be successful is to use iPhone.
Yeah, good. And to girls to be successful, Madam Anne will have to tell us on that. So please, that is it on the part of the youth. Now, let me talk on the part of the government. Within the 80s, when we engaged into primary education, there was what we call religious studies. Please, bear with me. This religious studies has a lot to play with our moral upbringing.
Remember our way to God.
Our way to God. Okay. You get up in the morning, you to God. Yes. You get into school, the first thing before you immediately enter class, the teacher comes, good morning, sir. You people start our way to God. Please, it gives you that moral awareness.
As she said, we should blend
morality with Christianity. Please, religious studies is a foundation of morality. We cannot separate them. We cannot. That is a problem. We are saying that the government go back and look into religious studies. It has a role to play with the moral upbringing
of the child. That morality should come back.
And the government is the same government playing that morality. We are giving the government proposals now. The government should take it, institute back morality in our schools. Please, this morality, it plays a lot with the moral upbringing of the children. I bet you say 2 papers without religion. You will not say 3 papers available without religion, or 2 papers. Please, come on.
Now, let me not cut you short. I challenged a government official about this the last time, and he said in the place of religious studies that place counselors in our schools.
Please, those are 2 different concepts. Religious study is religious study. Counseling is counseling. Counselors.
How many students even get to these counselors?
These counselors. Please, especially now our societies, you judge a person based on who you think that person is. For example, in the University of Boya, we have counselors. Now you might have a situation where you need a counselor. Now you want to go to counselor, you say, hey, that Mr. Ebom today. Master, Ebom today, tell me what. I need to go there. I mean, you getting it? So it's totally different from the religious studies. Let's institute back these religious studies in our educational system. It will boost up, it will bring back the morality. It will make people to have that human feeling within them. Because the level to which people are wicked, the level to which crimes wave are rampant out there is lack of this morality. Religious studies bring us back to ourselves for us to understand that we are made of His image. We are made of the image of God. So I think that, please let me leave it there.
Prophet, you should thank you so very much. You see why when you are not there, they miss you a lot, right? Welcome back. Thank you so very much. And if I'm another let me come to you very quickly. And you are the youngest amongst us, and you happen to still be a student. I want to ask you this: have you ever gone home with a phone or with something, and your parents call you to order to ask you who gave you this phone? Where do you have money to buy this phone? Where do you have money to buy this hair, this dress? Have that ever happened to you?
Yes.
Does it still happen now?
Yes.
Okay.
And now, my mom thinks I'm 18, 19, sorry. I'm all grown up. So she tries to limit the way she controls me. But I already have that mindset that whatsoever I buy, I need to go and show my mom. So even if I buy myself a hair or a wig, I'll be like, Mom, I bought this for myself. She'll be like, where did you get the money? I'll be like, I've been saving up. Though most of the time I've not been saving up.
So where did you actually get the money?
That's all. It's cool. But
So where did you get the money?
the money. Well, I'm a business lady.
Okay. And your mom does not know that you're doing this.
Oh, she knows I'm doing business. She's actually one of my exactly.
Now, have you ever, see a classmate or age mate of yours who look very flashy with an iPhone,
Yeah.
all that, and you're like, why are they so? You kind of can't suffer. I want to be like her.
No,
Are you sure?
I don't. One thing about me is when something is everywhere,
You don't like it?
some of the good.
Okay.
I feel like it's not in me. So even when someone proposes like I'll get you an iPhone, I'll be like, please, that's an Ashwabi. It's everywhere.
So you want them to get to buy another phone?
If there is something, if there's something that is bigger than that iPhone, give it to me because now the iPhone is so cheap. It's everywhere.
Okay. Now, okay, anyway, you are youth. Let me come back to you. You are a youth, and of course, you mingle with a lot of youth today. I want you, as a youth, to pick out some of the things that your age mates do that you think that is wrong, or maybe parents are not really pushing them to sit up in that aspect.
Well, firstly, youth nowadays, they have what they call in pidgin English long eye. You see your friend because Anissa has this. I too, I also want to have it, and you understand. They want to measure up to the level where they are not. And my mom will always say, know where you're coming from and know where you're going to. If you know your background, I can't afford this, you wait till then, or you work hard to achieve it. But people nowadays don't do it that way. They have this inferiority complex that I must be like this person. Okay, because my friend celebrates her birthday, I need to celebrate mine too. That's another issue. And now parents nowadays, they are more westernized. They see things in a Western way. They're like, they are all grown up, they are children, they can do what they want to do. They can allow them. They forget that though they say a control of a child from 0 to when the child is the minor, but even at that, a child still remains a child no matter what. And a Frenchman will tell you, if a tapel of fair can't show, meaning you should hit the iron when it is still hot, because when that child starts and you give a blind eye to it, there will be a time when she will act like you guys are mates in the house, and you guys are married to the same man. So nowadays, I think parents should talk to their children. There's this thing about communication. It has died down. Mr. Chichu mentioned something about the single parenthood. You can't blame the parent for not being there. The mother or the father have to provide for that child, make sure that child lacks nothing. And what is it say? A parent leaves the house at 5 a.m. in the morning, comes back home at midnight. That child is sleeping. They won't have that time to talk. It's the same routine all throughout.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about, parents being actively involved in the upbringing of a child. I'm not saying that a parent should go and steal. Every parent goes out to work. You get up in the morning, you prepare your child is going to school, you drive your child to school. If you don't have a car, you take your child to school. When you come back in the evening, you get your child. Do you have a home assignment? And all that is actively involved. We are not saying that a parent should get up in the morning.
Wait, let's say the case where the parent is an say francophone and the child is an anglophone. How is that communication gets to start?
Tell me, what identities are you bringing like that?
What?
What identity? What do you take your identity for?
I am that identity. My mom is a francophone, but I am an
Okay,
Anglophone.
I understand what she's trying to say. Let me come
No, I
in there
cannot
because
understand that
they have
kind of
two different lifestyles.
Two
in
different
communication.
lifestyles in
She's talking about the
communication.
lifestyle. You know, because the francophones, they have their own way that they think
Yes.
that they say fair. But an anglophone, but if your mother is an anglophone, she stays,
Prince,
she brings you up
Prince,
the way she wants
Prince.
to.
Let me learn, Mr.
Please
Juju.
let me come in.
I'm talking.
Let me come in, madam. Please let me come in.
You need to
Prince.
calm down a little.
We are not talking. We are not saying a particular lifestyle. That lifestyle that doesn't permit you to actively involve in the upbringing of your child. That's what we are talking about. That is not correct.
Let me come in. I understand quite well what you're saying. Let's come back to a topic. Let's come back home, okay?
Yeah, we are.
What I'm trying to say, I understand you critically clear, but now, if you will notice, and I will say this on air, might step on some toes. If you look at the degree of morality in the English-speaking side of the country, and the degree of morality across the Mungo, you can see some differences. True of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just believe that you said false.
True.
Okay. Okay. Because I just really believe that was, in the English-speaking side, there's still that level of
Decency.
parents being actively involved in the upbringing of their children. But over there, the children are let loose because they think that they are mature. That's why again, Mr. Ebon, you want to come in?
Yes, what I just want to say, I want to make mention of a few things first before counteracting.
Although I have a
few
very big
things
question for you, but go ahead.
For sure, it's coming. I always answer questions. I want to first of all say that a parent that doesn't see any wrong in the actions of his or her child, that parent is manufacturing or growing up a time bomb that will explode in due time. That's the very first thing. Secondly, this aspect that Dr. Ijochu was hammering on single parenthood, I don't think I really want to lay much effort on that. Because when you look at the modern society, when you look at even some of the most successful children, well behaved and so on, are those children that are coming from single parents. Because, yes, that's what, because when you look at it very well, these, especially the mothers, they culture their children well. Culturing them well means that, of course, they make them to understand the realities of life. They see that, okay, you've seen, this is the situation I passed through, this is what I passed through, this is what I passed through. Avoid not to pass through this. Let their own children not go through this. So they struggle by all possible means to always bring them closer to them. And a majority of the single parents that I have seen, especially the women, their children are well behaved.
Now, let me take that question and come to you, Madam Crystal, just to follow up. You've made mention of, because if I want to understand what Juju Stephen is saying, then when we were growing up, there is, a mother can be soft and the father is maybe hard. These two blends you up, But now I understand that most single mothers, they play the role of the mother and the father, and likewise. But now, remember when we come and had this discussion, we are talking about youths today who are wayward, who are immoral. But there are a majority of adults who help them to do what they are doing. Let me say, you call these people sugar daddies. Sugar daddy is an adult who is supposed to act as a parent and a moral instructor to a youth. But it baffles me that you see an elderly man going out with a secondary school child, that your first daughter has maybe 3 or 4 children already. You try to understand. This whole issue of phones, WhatsApp, you have this option that whether you can block your parents. But what these children post on social media, Facebook and the rest, you ask yourself, do they really come from homes? Do they have parents? On a more serious note.
So, Prince, the aspect of this, it still draws back to this single parenting. I want to go with Mr. Ichuchu in a particular way because they say 2 heads are better than one. The truth is some parents or some of the parents who brought up their kids by themselves, especially the women, they actually, just a handful of them have gotten to that point to know that what they did was wrong, or they want to make amends and not want their kids to go through the same things they went through. But it's surprising to see that you, as a single mom who went through hell, if I may call it like that, to raise up a child, you're pushing that child to the same thing. You can't have a child in opposites, and the child does not have probably toiletries, rubbing oil pads or what for a female, and the child comes to you and like, Mom, I need these things. You tell her, go get it yourself. Where do you expect her to get it from, if not to go with the sugar daddies and all? So our parents really need to step up the game. They need to work to go with, and some of them are not even ready to be parents. Like a girl is 14 and she has a child, like, what do you expect that child to teach another? That girl at that age is not ready to get married. So she's kind of, with the way the parents are, she's kind of raising a child by herself. She's looking for means to fend for that child and still keep the crime keep increasing and keeps increasing and keeps increasing. So I think our parents really need to help us and help the young ones to grow up. And just my sister made mention of how her mom, she would go to her mom like, Mom, I got this, I got that. It's because her mother brought her up that way. If you didn't grow up in a house where you need to give account, to be accountable for every little thing, then you don't see it as a problem. You can easily bring iPhone 14 to the house and your mom instead looks at the good pictures it takes and forgets, like, what are you carrying? How did you get this? So our parents really need to step up on the game to ensure that this moral decadence of a thing.
Like talking about this issue of guests, let me come back to it. You know, you can be a mother and you send your child to the university. Few months later, the child comes home with a Porsche car, big phones and everything, and my child have made it when the child never even graduated. What are you doing? No physical work that you can see that child is doing. And then to them it's okay. They promote it. Don't you see that's a problem?
It's definitely a big problem because the problem is not from the children, the problem is from the parents. The truth is some of these kids cannot talk to us, but some of them are going through hell in their houses. Some of the parents begin by comparing these kids to their peers. We can go to the same school. I'm the daughter of a minister. You're just probably scholarship brought you there, but your mom has forgotten where she's coming from and wants you to live the life of the other child. And now start pushing. Are you not seeing what your friend is doing? Can't you do like that? Can't you do like this? It pushes these kids away and makes them want to be what they are not. And before you know, and the truth is, if I'm really aware, if I'm current, this guess of a thing is no longer normal.
That's true.
It's fetish. And thank God the parents were suffering because they always ask for what you love most.
Yes.
So they ask you to give you love most.
Yes.
Please, will you bear with me that there are some parents within the community that they are aware that their son or their daughter is doing this thing against them? That they know and they are very okay.
Yes, there are mothers.
I'm saying that they know and they are very comfortable with their
family. If we're talking about wayward attitude of youth, let's talk about it. Most of the men will do guess. Most of the young girls in Modesto, they do runs. If you want to talk about things,
call it black prostitution.
Whole prostitution. The kind of one that don't know and stand on the streets.
It's called fancy.
They share their numbers on social media or whatsoever they have their way. There are mothers who you sit in the house with your child. Today a Mercedes Jeep will come and pick up that child and drop the child in the morning. Tomorrow Range Rover will come and pick a child and drop that. The child does not sleep in the habit. When the child comes, how much you bring them today? You understand? It's true.
All of those things boil back to the aspect of trying to alleviate poverty in our stuff, because the level at which the economy is turning into on a daily basis, we are facing severe problems in such that we start thinking out of the box on how we can remedy the situations that we find ourselves in. The employment in terms of the government is not coming. You want to do a small business, high taxes are accumulating there, and then you want to even do farming, you don't even have a place to do farm because everywhere now is land this, land that, and so on. So it becomes really a problem, and then the question starts coming in, then how will I survive? And most of those, when the father or the mother starts thinking, how are we going to survive? Yesterday they didn't eat, today, tomorrow they will not. The young ones that are there, they start thinking on how can we make life to be a little easy. And that's why you see the aspect that we are talking about because now
if they have good moral upbringing, they will know that they can still make life through positive means, not negative.
Of course,
means.
and that's why to tell you the simple truth, I love my village because that's where I grew. I know how difficult life is, and I have lived in the village before coming now into the town. So there is nothing about life that you will tell me that I have not been a part of it or that I have not seen. And you see, that's why we still go back in the aspect of this 80s and the rest of the other stuff. Now, children that were grown up in the village, that have that village setting, they have gone through thick and thin in the village. When they leave the village and come to town, they have a different way of behavior as compared to those that are brought up in town and that remains in town. Those that are in town, let's say they are a little exposed to, let's say, technology, a little exposed to the world.
They'll call those who come
The
to
thing,
visit as rods.
and as young as secondary school from 1, from 2, the type of things that they start thinking and doing, and those types of things those that come from the village, you will not even hear them making mention. Though presently, the technology is living in the towns and and spreading through as well to the village.
Now, Doctor, very quickly, let me come to you before we start giving our recommendations out there. There's another aspect that I want us to look into. He made mention of children who grew up in the village, and when they come, they have a different approach. I will believe when you were growing up, your parents, most of the times, maybe during holidays, will send you for holidays to your grandparents, or maybe grand aunts also, who, parents at times they might pamper you, or allow certain things to go. But in those days, when you go to your grandmother's house also, there was this time people that never spoil the picking. The only thing that the grandma will spoil is food. They can give you food from today to tomorrow. But they will control you in certain things that you do. Another aspect is our culture is part of us. We are Africans, you understand? But most youths today have derailed from their culture. They don't even know their culture. And I believe that if you go through most of the culture, if you remove the fetish part, the culture will tell a girl to dress with a long dress. The culture will tell a girl to remain a virgin before you get married and all that. So don't you think that we have, the fact that they have gone away from this fact, most children today, they don't even go to their grandparents, they don't even know their grandparents, they don't know their culture, has not contributed?
Yes, Prince, like you did mention that it's our culture, and that's our identity.
Exactly.
If you don't know your culture, you are a lost person because you don't know who you are. Prince, you must align, no matter how exposed, no matter how android you become, you must align back to your culture. Because your culture gives you the sense of belongingness. Is there a culture? That culture gives you the sense of belongingness. And the culture, you made mention of these features. What do you
Fetish.
What do you mention?
Fetish,
What do you mean by
like human sacrifice and all that.
Are they human sacrifices in our culture? Have you seen it? Those are the products. The concept that the Westerners. Okay, please, that's a topic for another day. That's a topic. So I think that if we go back to our culture acts like a moral foundation for ourselves, because culture guides you back on how you should react, on how you should live, how you should grow. Our culture, children nowadays are scared to go back to their grandma. In those our days, you go to your grandma will educate you, your grandma will tell you so many things, stories by the fireside. By the fireside. But what I'm telling you, parents are even scared to discuss such topics with their children. They are scared. Because I went to one seminar one time like that, and I was facilitating that seminar on the topic menstrual hygiene, and it was like, you understand that kind of? Yes. The boy they talk about menstrual hygiene will get them. You understand? People put like a code to such a topic of discussion. But I shouldn't be like that. As a parent, you should be able to talk freely, open up to your children. Your children, you need to be your best, and you need to be the best friend of your child.
You're already going out to the recommendations.
Okay, I'm already going to the recommendations. Yes, Prince. Parents should.
So you advise the youth, the parents, society, government out there to stop this.
Yes, I identified the 3 stakeholders. So let me give 3 recommendations. To the parents should create an enabling environment to discuss important issues with their children. They should educate them, guide them, and sensitize them about the realities of life. They should be able to school at the children when the children goes wayward. Now, to the government, I'm still saying it. The government is the quarter all. You know what I'm saying? Quarter, the government has the yam and the knife to design this thing. So I'm pleading again on the government to see what they can do to institute religious studies back into our curriculum. Friends, religious studies has a serious aspect it plays in the moral upbringing of the children. Friends, for the youth, I think the youth should understand that success doesn't come in the tip of our iceberg. Success is a progressive process to engage in you're going to my 17th prince, you need to start work. You need to start the journey with yourself, and you walk, you progress, and you will get there. So I think that he whosoever want to achieve, or whatsoever you want to achieve in life, you need to start the process and endeavor to move gradually as that process entails to succeed. Thank you very much.
Summary, easy come, easy go. So any word that you have very easily, that's how it might disappear easily. Madam Crystal, let me come to you. What recommendations do you have for them? Usually your younger sisters who look up to you, because you're one person that will say, I admire your level of, maturity and morality. The secret behind it, how can they tap from it?
I'll just second Mr. Ichu's idea of take a step at a time. Then I'll recommend, since the parents are my focal points, I'll remind them of Proverbs 22:28 again. The Bible says we should go back to the ancient landmarks. We should not forget the landmarks that our fathers walked through. I think it goes both biblically and the way our parents brought us up. They should go back to the way they were brought up by their own parents and transfer the life to the youths. I think if they can do that and blend that with Christianity and blend that with the life of Christ, we'll have a better and a perfect future for our kids. So we should go one step at a time and stop this comparison. No two fingers are the same. So you have your own part to play. You have your own shemen designed by God, and only God can help you achieve that particular thing and at a particular time. Anything other than that, you're going astray. I think that is the best.
You say, Ebon?
Yeah, thank you very much. In as much as I want to say that the government has something to do, but the government can as well put all the mechanism in place, but it boils back to the parents that have, let me say, about 80% role to play when it comes to the upbringing of their children. Because I'm not sure it's the government that will tell me how to bring up my child.
Although there's this issue when we're growing up. A parent in any neighborhood is a parent to all the children there.
Obviously.
If they see you do something wrong, maybe they will beat you and bring you home, and then your father will take over. But now you beat up a child and say, now you born at home.
Obviously, and that's why I was just about to say that even if the government say, okay, schools continue to discipline these children as you were disciplining them, there it will create more problems than what we even have now. Because I've witnessed a situation that a child goes late to school or does something in school, and that child is beaten up. The child goes back and bring the father. The father comes and beat back the discipline master or the teacher. How do you solve that?
And so how can you, a parent, fighting in front of your children? Because another thing you talked about, yes.
What are you teaching them?
Yes.
So you have some of these challenges that at the end of the day, to me, I can only concentrate to the parents. Some of us are parents. The way we bring up our children will determine how those children will be in future. And that's why I said earlier that any parent that doesn't see anything wrong in what the child does, of be it good or bad, it means that that parent is manufacturing or growing up a tiny bomb that will explode in due course. And that's it. Unfortunately, it's not nice that we reflect on some certain things, but we have had so many cases that a child kills the father or kills the mother.
It happens in the West, just last week.
Obviously,
where a guy used machete and killed the mother.
They are happening everywhere. So it goes back to all the parents. I'll concentrate 80% of my efforts to caution or to talk with the parents. These are your children. Educate your children appropriately so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. If you leave them to go wayward, at the end of the day, you will be the one to suffer. Because many parents have died out of heartbreak, out of shock because of what their children did. Maybe you see some of them, they say what they call girls. You don't know now it is becoming more fetish. And at the end of the day, you don't know how many years they have to live. You don't know what they do to get whatever money they have. A child, if I have a child now, he is 20 years or 21 years, who comes to give me a car as a gift, I will not take. Because I know that there's something wrong from where the fault of it is coming. Especially if you are not working. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Madam Epole. Advise yourself and youths.
Well, to all youth out there who are like me, I always just say, know where you're coming from and where you're going to. And to all the parents out there, though it's busy, we're trying to hustle to make ends meet, but try to sort out this little time to talk with your child, like what Mr. Chichurali said. there are certain things that parents, there are topics that parents shy away from, and I don't think that's really a good idea. So parents should make this environment, this friendly environment for their children and them to talk about. And for the girls myself, if a man who is old enough to be your father approach you all in the name of sugar daddy, if just walk away or give him the talk of his life and go away. There are certain things you just need to avoid because you start talking, one thing will lead to another. Just avoid such situations because nowadays it's really rampant. They are using the economy to make use of us, and they forget that they too they have children. What if another man approach your own child the way you're doing it to someone else's child? What next? That's the question we should ask.
Thank you so very much, Epole and I want to thank all of you so very much for being there. And of course, that's it for today. God willing, you join us next week, Tuesday, for another interesting program, Let's Talk, on this same studio here on Divine Mercy Television. I hope the advice that I've given to all those who are concerned, parents, everybody in the society, it is our role, it is our duty to bring up children. When a child is still small at that tender age, somebody will say, no, they begin to over small for correcting. No. If you allow that child to grow like that, they grow up with attitudes that will be very difficult for them to change. So please, we start controlling them, start teaching them morals, and of course, let's blend morality and religion. The controversy is that a lot of churches keep throwing it up every day, but of course, the degree of morality in our society keeps going down. We will bring another very interesting topic for you, our beautiful viewers, next week. I want to thank Madam Kindness and equally all those managing this great TV house for giving us the opportunity. Next week will be another rendezvous. Keep watching beautiful programs here on Divine Mercy Television.